Can everyone see the PowerPoint presentation?
Not at this moment.
Can the applicant team see the presentation?
No, it's not being on the screen now.
Scott is not on the screen.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I see that
Yep.
now.
Perfect. Appreciate your patience with technical difficulties. Okay. So with that, everyone can see the screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So let's get started here tonight. So I want to welcome everyone here to the December 16th, 2020 neighborhood meeting for Grasslawn North. It's a 6-lot short plat on a 1.8 acre property off of 148th Avenue Northeast. The project number is Land 2020-00938. My name is Scott Reynolds, and I'm the planner with the City of Redmond, and I'm part of a team of city staff reviewing the proposal for compliance with city codes. I'll be facilitating tonight's meeting and fielding any questions from meeting participants and at the end of the presentation. During the closure of City Hall due to the COVID-19 pandemic, neighborhood meetings are being held virtually to ensure the health safety of the city staff, applicants, and residents are being upheld. This Zoom meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the project page on redmond.gov tomorrow. Public comments related to this neighborhood meeting will be accepted up till January 6, 2020 to accommodate the holidays. If you wish to provide comments and have not already done so about the project, and you're also not able to attend the virtual meeting, please reach out to me, Scott Reynolds, by telephone at 425-556-2409 or via email at sreynolds@redmond.gov. While the presentation is occurring, we ask that participants remain on mute to avoid audio interference. Once the presentation has concluded, we will open up the meeting for questions from the audience. On tonight's agenda, we will introduce the project team. I will then discuss the process of reviewing a short plat from the city standpoint. Then the applicant will go over the general site information and the details of the project. We will conclude with most of the meeting being questions and answer session for both the city and the applicant. So let's get started with introductions. Again, my name is Scott Reynolds. I'm the planner with the City of Redmond. Here with me tonight, I have Min Liu with the transportation reviewer. I have Hiba Awad with the utility reviewer. And I also have Janelle Hitch who does stormwater review. Would the applicant team please unmute and introduce themselves?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bob Nix, and I'm the planner and project manager at Core Design. Core Design is the engineer, landscape architect, and surveyor for this project. We have Garrett Benson, who's the engineer, Valerie, who's an engineer design, and also Sue, who is our landscape designer. And the developer is also online. His name is Tian Hall.
Bob. So let's go over the process for reviewing a short plat. A short plat application is the first step in a subdivision process. The proposal to review for compliance with land use, infrastructure, and environmental requirements, including things like lot lines, sidewalk improvements, critical areas, and tree preservation requirements. Following the short plat process approval, there is a coordinated civil review process which focuses on infrastructure specifications like utilities, sewer, water, and streets. Then comes the construction phase after the CCR process, when the required infrastructure improvements are built and the final plat is recorded. The recording of the final plat is actually the mechanism that creates the legal division of the lots so they can be sold off within following home construction to follow. So let's get into the short plat process and go into that more detail of what we're currently in right now. The first step is that the applicant submits a formal application to the city. From there, a notice of application is sent out to all neighbors Signs are posted on the property. So hopefully most of the community's seen that. Following that, a neighborhood meeting invitation is sent out to the neighbors as well, or the surrounding neighbors within 500 feet of the project, which is also why we're here tonight. During all of the application, during all of this, the application is going through the review process with the city. If any staff has corrections, they are sent to the applicant to make revisions and resubmit for further review. After a public comment period closes and the applicant has addressed all the corrections from staff, the technical committee, which is made up of the planning and public works directors, issue a decision either approving with corrections or conditions or denying the application. The decision is based on the applicant's compliance with city codes. Once the technical committee issues the decision, parties of record are notified and given 14 days to file appeal if they choose to do so. The appeal is heard by the hearing examiner. This is a brief summary of the short plat process. I'll now turn it over to the applicant team to discuss the project in more detail.
Thank you. So I know, as you all know, where we're located off 148th, just north of Grass Lawn Park. And like we know, the project is a 1.8 acres. We're proposing to have 6 units placed on this. And with that, we also will have the improvements for storm, road, and utilities. Can you switch next one, Scott? So this gives you an overview, and you probably have all seen something like this, but on the west side is where the development is proposed to go. And please remember that this is the first submittal. We haven't seen one comment back or anything. So this is just our first submittal and proposal, and we're going to work with it. So the 6 homes are to the west, and then you can see the green area and the trees, and a dark line on the east side is a stream that previously was put in a culvert. And as part of this project and the ownership of the property, we're going to bring that stream back to as close as we can to the original location and function. Let's switch to the next one. And so this was just talking about the culvert pipe part of the creek, and the stream opening up will bring back fish habitat and widen and slow the creek ideally. Go ahead, the next one. If anyone's been on site, this is kind of the erosion and what's happened from the culvert. And this is where we'll remove this pipe culvert, we're gonna call it, and build we'll say the new stream, but it's the old stream that was there historically. Let's go to the next one. So this is kind of briefly talking about the stream restoration. It restores potential fish accessibility and creates a stable stream channel. And I know we've had some complaints downstream of this. So ideally this will help with that. And there is some necessary tree removal as part of this ingrading in the wetland, or in the stream channel, which is normally not a thing we do, but to bring the stream back, it's what we have to. For the development itself, we're keeping it all outside of the wetland buffers to the west. And then right now it's 100-foot stream buffer. And we're going to have mitigation, which means we're going to come back and plant a lot of plants in this riparian corridor. And it will increase biodiversity in the area of the stream specifically. And I know there's concern about development, but we're trying environmentally and sustainably to build the best product we can with what we have to work with here, and in the confines of the city requirements and code. Go to the next one, Scott. And this kind of shows back. You can see that once again, the picture on the left is that culvert. It's kind of where the blue line is on the left side. So the blue line is the pipe. It goes into the stream towards the very north end. On the right side of the screen, you can see that we've gone in and kind of remade the stream. And also we're going to add a culvert underneath the new road that would be fish passable. So that up to this point, or our portion of the project will help the stream and the diversity and the fish, that community. Let's go to the next one. And this kind of speaks to the development. Like, it's a graphic. It's not to absolutely show what's out there, as we know, but on their left side is kind of the west side of our project, and you're going to have some homes, and we'll re-landscape. And yes, there'll be some trees that are removed as part of the project, and we'll keep the required amount of trees, and we'll get to it. But we're actually going to increase our trees in the mitigation area, so that will actually bring more trees back. And it kind of just shows you the streams off to the right. On top is the natural grade. And now we're going to cut down a little bit, put a stream pad in there, or stream bottom, put rocks, trees, whatever it takes to keep that from eroding away and make it habitable by fish. Now go ahead and get next. And this kind of speaks to the tree retention. There, of the 141 significant trees, and a significant tree is based off of code, and it's, I'm sorry, I'm not the tree person, but I believe it's 8 inches or larger. And you have landmark trees, and we have significant trees in the city. So we have 141 trees, and 35 of them are unhealthy. So we have 106 viable trees. And on the right side, it kind of shows what we're going to do is keep 32 of the trees that are there, which is the 35% that were required. Add in street trees, which is part of the street frontage. And then there's 20 trees we're going to be adding in the landscape buffer, and then a lot of plants mitigated. It says 276 trees, wetland mitigation. I don't know that they're all trees, but there's a lot of plants that are going to go back into that area. Go to the next one. Scott.
Give me a sec.
Yeah, go to the next one, please.
There we go.
And so this is a brief, again, slide about the access and what we were required to do per our pre-app notes that we started with. And we're going to put a half-street improvement in front of the project, which gives us a full half-speed road, planter strip, sidewalk, and public dedicated right-of-way. And you can see in the top picture, once again, that the gray is the new road, and there's a little green for the planter strip or amenity strip. And off to the east is that access. Like currently there is an access easement that's 30 feet wide, and we were required to put in a 20-foot road or access road with a safe walk path, which is going to be a 5-foot sidewalk at the same level as that road.
Bob, if it's okay, I'm going to have Min kind of jump in here too. Min, can you kind of talk about the requirements from the city for transportation access to the site?
Good evening, everyone. This is Milo. I can kind of turn on my video if you want to see me. Just a moment here. Gonna get that video turned on, but it's okay. So the access upon the applicant proposal, you can see from that graphic, there's a 2 section over there. The first section from 148th to the side, that section, I call it as a section 1. If you can see the slide is on bullet point number 4 over there. So that one, Bob already mentioned that we will require that roadway width to be improved as a 20-foot wide hard surface road. That would satisfy the emergency vehicle access. So the emergency vehicle access, we will need to have a 20-foot pavement width. Right now, the existing pavement, some of the section not meeting the requirement. So the requirement would need to improve this section between the 148th Avenue all the way to the side edge at that location. That need to be a 20-foot wide pavement. And then on the top of that, that will require additional 5-foot safe walk route between the proposed project site all the way to 148. It could be on the north side or on the south side, depend on the width of the existing easement. So that need to be completed. And then the second section within the site, I call it as a section 2, that need to provide as a standard a little bit more than half G improvement, which would require a 30.5-foot right-of-way dedication, and then also a 20-foot paving, and then vertical curb or a 5-foot planter, and then 5-foot sidewalk on the north side. So when the south parcel come in for the development, that portion will be improved by the parcel to the south. So that parcel would add additional 8-foot paving and then complete 5-foot planter and 5-foot sidewalk on the south side. So the section 1 between 148 and the proposed project site in the future, when those adjacent property parcel come for the development, we will bring this section 1 to the full street standard as well. And at that time, the right-of-way dedication and frontage improvement will be required for those parcels along section 1. I think this is all I have for that access and street improvement requirements, Scott.
Thank you, Min.
Thank you.
Bob, back to you.
Thanks, Min. Can we go to the next one, please?
Yeah.
So this is just basically overall, but the engineering map, kind of how we set up our proposed development. And once again, it's just our proposed development, and we have room to work with this a little bit. And we haven't had any comments back from the city, so this is just kind of showing the little short, the narrow road coming into the project and the wider road. It's just a little different look at it. Shows the houses and they're not proposed houses, they're a placemaker. So everything is here that you see, we need to address and make sure that it works for the city and the neighborhood. So go ahead to the next one.
Sorry.
So yeah, this is when we want, I guess, the place where we have question and answers. And I do want everyone to understand that the developer here is really interested in the neighborhood for the good. And, it's not all about every penny and every big house. It's really, he's trying to do the best he can with a piece of property that he owns, and that's where we're here to listen to what you have to say and see if we can work anything out down the road to make it better.
Thank you, Bob. So with that, we will now open for questions to the audience. In the Zoom call, if you can please raise your hand by clicking the raise hand button in the Zoom screen and clicking on the icon, the hand icon. Please help me keep track by stating your name clearly before asking your question. All questions are a matter of public record and will be incorporated into the decision documents. If you wish to be a party of record and receive notifications when a decision is made, please state your mailing address for the record as well. If you do not wish to share your mailing address on the Zoom call meeting, then essentially you can still be an interested party. Please reach out to me separately via telephone at 425-556-2409 or email address at sreynolds@redmond.gov. And I'll be happy to coordinate with you if you'd like to be a party record. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing or reduce the sharing here and then go to the question and answers. See who has their hand up.
Oh, okay. This is Jersey Radka. How you doing? Can you hear me? Hi.
We can. Go ahead.
Okay, I have some questions. The one is a slide number 13. No, just a second. The one with the existing and proposed elevations. The one which was this one, yeah, the 10. I see the difference grade over here on the west side which is adjacent to our and Steve's property. It's quite a bit of difference. So that means that, you know, we'll be driving up quite up the hill, you know, from here to our property, the access here. So I have an issue with this, with engineering of it. And the second thing is, I would like to go to the requirements of the city. If you would go to slide number 12. Yes. So we heard before as neighbors that in order to access to, you know, to development, that 40-foot a road at least, or 50-foot has to be created from 148th. What I hear right now or see here, that for that development, the only 20-foot pavement is required right now.
Sure. Thank you for your questions.
And so okay, so
Yeah. So let's.
is
So,
that
yeah, go ahead.
go ahead. Even I don't know if that's something, you know, which developer proposes as a 20-foot. Engineer stated that this kind of, you know, there must be something that city might agree on. Although I don't remember that this is the city requirements are different than what is proposed over here.
So thank you. So it sounds like you have two questions. The first question being about the grade changes on the site and possibly getting access to your property. And then the second question is about regarding the total dimension of the street. So starting off the first one, Bob, do you want to, somebody of the applicant team to talk about the grading on the site?
Sure. Hey, Garrett. Garrett's our engineer. Let's have Garrett get on here and speak to it.
Hey, Scott, can you allow me into the meeting?
Oh, hold on a second, Garrett.
There we go. Continue on, Garrett.
Okay, well, hello, everyone, I'm Garrett. Kind of trying to understand your question really quick. Are you talking about the east or west portion of this property
I'm talking
for the grade difference?
I'm talking about west.
Okay, so at that portion on Northeast 74th Street, you're talking about the road itself, or are you talking about right where the houses are going to be built?
Actually both. I mean, actually that's you know, I know that you're showing the grade over here, and that's I don't see, but I don't see what's the difference in the grade. You must have it in your survey, right? So over there at the line of the property, what's the grade difference over there between existing and proposed?
So let's see, like in this PowerPoint right now, I think it's lot 5 and 6, if you guys can see that. So both lot 5 and 6, those will be matching existing grade at that property line that you guys share, if that's your property directly west of it.
Okay, so
that grade will not increase or decrease, they'll match exactly that.
okay,
And then
so
that also is the same case for the access road. We'll try to be matching that existing access road as close as possible with the road
Okay.
profile.
it's
Minimize cut and fill and dirt quantities that'll be going in and out of that site.
okay. Okay.
And then Min, can you jump in to talk about the code requirements for the full 40 feet versus just the 20?
Yes, so the code requires that the street accessed by more than 10 lots, that would be a public street. So right now the property is in the middle of the street. So the section 1, if you can see on the slide, bullet point number 4 over there. So that portion, it will be a public street in the future when all those property adjacent to that section 1 get redeveloped. We will get right-of-way dedication from those property owners adjacent to section 1. And then the frontage improvement, including sidewalk planted on both sides of the street, will be required by the adjacent property owner, not required by this property owner, because the code requires that the frontage improvement, which this section is not part of the frontage of this proposed project. So what we require them to do is that to meet the fire requirement, which is required to get the 20 foot of the pavement completed. And then also the project will need to meet the safe walk route requirement, which we will require them to build the 5 foot of the safe walk route on either side of the section 1. So in the future, if all those adjacent property owners come for subdivision or build another project or add anything or subdivision or addition, then at that time we will require those adjacent property owner to dedicate the right of way to the city and bring that section to the full street standard. The full street standard for this public street would be 50 foot right of way, and then 28 foot of the paving, and 5 foot planter on both sides, and then 5 foot sidewalk on both sides. So right now, because of this section is not part of that this proposed project frontage, we cannot require them to do the full street standard improvement. So they are required to do within their site, but not outside of their project.
Okay, so that my question is like this, okay? The entry point right now, the driveway, which we have, or whatever, you know, that 74th Street, which actually we apply for it before because of our properties. Right now, existing right of way exhausted the limit of the properties to be served, which is according to the city ordinance is 9 lots, right? So then building right now, that property, it is over the 9 lots, is already, you know, over the limit.
Yes, so this need to be a public street.
Yeah, I understand, but why this requirement doesn't apply to the entry point from 148 to that property? Why that doesn't require the improvement? It's just the required pavement of 10 feet, right?
So, well, I'm gonna, Max, I see that you have your hand up, and we're gonna jump to you here next. But Min, if you can follow up and provide the clarity between the different levels of improvement based on the different number of lots.
The code requires that they will have to do their frontage because the section 1 is not part of their frontage, so we will not have authority to require the full street standard frontage improvement. What we can require is that they will have to meet the fire access requirement, which I was mentioning is a 20 foot of paving.
Right.
And
So
then
what you're saying is that if the property is developed but doesn't have the frontage of 148, so the code states that you don't need to improve it to the full 50-foot wide street access, right?
yes,
Okay.
we will not be able to ask that
Okay.
development to do the entire section 1 improvement.
Okay,
So we
that's what I
can't.
wanted to know. So my another question is, because this touches, you know, for example, my property and Steve's property. If we decide to develop our properties, I have 3 lots over there, right? Let's say that I want to build 5 homes over there.
Mhm.
Would I be required to improve whole the road to 50 foot? Or I'm having the same exception, or I need to improve only the section part of my property?
Yeah, you will also only required to do your frontage, like along your property line, that section.
Okay.
When you
No.
come for the development, we will ask for the right-of-way dedication. Right now is the easement only, so it's not right-of-way. So
Okay.
when you come for the development, we will ask for at least half a G right away, which would be a 25-foot right away dedication. And then whatever left or not to the street standard, we will ask you to put it up. Like right now, they are putting up a 20-foot of pavement.
Okay.
And then the full street standard is a 28-foot paving. So
Okay.
from the center line to your property frontage, the pavement width need to be a 14-foot, half of the 28-foot, right? And then also a 5-foot painter strip, like a street tree and then grass, and then a 5-foot sidewalk need to be placed along the frontage, not the entire thing. Each individual parcel, they will have their responsibility to do the full street improvement along the frontage. The frontage is along your property line.
Yeah, that's thank you so much, because we as neighborhood before we had the different information, so I think that clarifies really nice what needs to be really improved. Okay, so I really appreciate your answer. That's great. That's a good news.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question. And I think Max, you're up next.
Yes, thank you. I'm in 7511 145th, which is the cul-de-sac immediately to the north of this lot. So there are 4 at least properties fronting on the north side of the proposed development, all of which, one of my first items is, they all have very mature trees. My particular house is this one right here. So you can see the others here spread along. This is where the stream goes.
Max, I don't think we're seeing kind of your markings here. In there.
Well,
Clear.
oh, I'm sorry. If you wouldn't mind, Scott, just indicating. So immediately above the red section, which is the northern boundary of the lot. So I have sent some questions to Scott already, so I'll keep this very brief just to summarize them. Firstly, related to the trees. All of these plots along the north side have very mature trees. Our lot alone has 7 legacy trees on it. There are similar numbers on all the other plots and multiple trees of significance. So there's a severe concern about setting the wind patterns from the clear cutting almost of the western half of this proposed development. I appreciate you may have tried to keep the eastern half to preserve the creek, but it's been done at the expense of the western half. I would say perhaps to the detriment of the prospective homeowners as well, who will have small bare lots. Your most recent slide that was up a minute ago indicates some trees there, but as you probably say, that's not definitive at this point. So we can't go by that entirely. Associated with that, I would ask if that's sort of the intended layout, then it's jammed the northernmost 3 houses right up minimum distance from the boundaries of the ones in the Greenbrier, the sections immediately north. Seems like you might want to leave a little more distance and have a little green belt there. I know it shows a few trees, but I have no idea if those are expected to happen or merely suggestive. So is there any intent to have some screening, green screening between the back of these houses at the rear of the new lot and the existing ones, or just 6-foot fences at most? There's another question. On the site at the moment, there's a number of legacy trees or sized legacy trees that have white ribbons and metal tags. Is that a part of the development planning, or is it something else altogether? Was another question I haven't had an answer to. I don't know if Bob can give one at this point.
So I have here, just to make sure everybody's on the same page, 3 questions that you have is about tree preservation requirements from the code standpoint and the applicant standpoint. If there are screening requirements from a code standpoint, and then what the applicant's proposing. And then lastly, clarification on tree tags that are on the site right now. Bob, do you want to jump in and talk about the tree tags and
Sure.
other information, and I can jump in and talk about the code requirements?
Sure. And please understand too that we didn't respond to anybody's emails yet, because we didn't understand how the city was going to support this or not. But the tree tags that you're seeing is just an identification of, this is the tree number, and the white said that he was there when the arborist went out. It was nothing more than that. It's not like we're pulling them down for sure, or we're not keeping them. That isn't represented at all.
Okay. They
this-
happen to qualify as legacy trees, the
Sure.
ones
And
that are tagged.
right, and in the city we have landmark and significant, and we understand the
Well, the ones that are 30 inches of pressed height, in other
Yeah.
words.
No, yeah, for sure. We do understand. For the screening, what you're seeing now is proposed. It's a landscape buffer that's required for the development and for the neighbors. And yes, there'll be a fence, and yes, there'll be landscaping done with trees added. Nothing is final. Nothing is final. Please understand that. I mean,
I understand that, but
Yeah.
you know, it can become final all too easily. Okay, there's another set of comments and questions closely related, but to the water situation. It's a very damp area up there. And as you become probably aware, apart from that creek that had been culverted, there is a class 3 creek extending close to the northern boundary, according to the city map, that feeds that creek that's intended to be daylighted, if that's the right word now. So that class 2 creek is Peters Creek, and I believe it's classified as a salmon related creek. So again, that's one thing, but there's a drainage issue in those properties. And I'm afraid that particularly on the west side as proposed, where you're stripping most of the trees out, just a quick calculation suggests that the impervious surface coverage in these lots, in that whole area on the left-hand side of the western side, is going to be, perhaps as counting driveways, patios, everything, could be as much as 70%. That's really high. I should say, by comparison, the houses to the immediate north are about 30%. The lots are bigger, and the houses are presumptively a little smaller than probably going to happen here. But that's a pretty severe impact on water control.
Yes, what it's coming.
So thank you, Max, for the comments. I also wanted to touch upon some of the city requirements, just so everybody's aware of them. So one of the things from a tree preservation requirement, and this is, as Bob stated, that the city is still reviewing this project. So really, this is the prime time that we wanted to reach out to the community and the neighbors to really better understand this project, so that as we go forth, really the best project can be achieved and code compliance can be achieved.
Mhm.
So with that, from a tree preservation standpoint, the code requires that 35% of the trees on the site be retained. And those are significant trees. Significant trees are 6 inches at breast height, so essentially not at the ground level. And larger basically counts as a significant tree. As Bob has mentioned, and I think you're alluding to, was that if you're over 30 inches for a tree, it becomes a landmark tree. For any landmark trees that are proposed to remove, there is a review process that needs to take place within the city and analysis done as part of that. So we're still really early in the process, nothing's finalized, but this feedback from the community is helpful to better understand some of the concerns.
Yeah, okay. On the trees, the landmark trees in particular, there's not only the issue of those that are presently on this parcel, but
Right.
maintaining the sort of grove or mini forest conditions that exist with the mature ones on the adjacent lots. Removal of those trees is going to alter the wind shear patterns around all of the trees, and I fear it may be to the detriment of the ones in the adjacent lot. So please keep that in mind as well. Again, related to the coverage on the western side only, you know, you may be achieving a very low coverage by including the whole parcel, but the problem is that you've got a hard left-hand side of it, a hard western side, essentially. So you've got lovely stream buffer on one side and essentially concrete on the other. That doesn't seem like a very good idea to keep things a bit closer to nature than my estimate, by the way, is that each of those lots will be, including all the driveways and everything, each lot is about 6,000 square feet, maybe 6,500. Knowing what the size of the parcel is, and that whole bit is about half of it. So you're starting with a pretty small area, about 36,000 square feet for 6 houses, just to begin with. And you have to include all manner of driveway access roads and driveways for other people and so forth in there. So yeah, so one other item then, maybe you don't know yet, but what sort of general size of residences are you contemplating? Footprints, heights?
It truly is undecided. What's shown is a sizable lot that would be allowed on these, a size of a house footprint that would be allowed on these. It's not, there's no, and as you can see, everyone is unique. You know, many developers want to have them all the same. And so we don't know. I don't know what size they're going to be at this point.
And I'll bring up one other point related to the water control or the water preventing runoff and erosion and everything else. Do you plan to have a retention pond for the western half of this proposal?
Yeah, so
Bob,
you can.
before you answer, I think Rob, I think you have the next question. So after this answer, we'll jump over to you.
Okay.
So, Bob?
Yeah, thanks. So you can see track GDC. They're kind of like a little brighter green color on there. Underneath this is where you'll see a storm vault or a storm facility. It won't be open pond. It'll be underground. And we are aware of the water. I mean, the geotech.
Could you point out on the slide roughly where it'll be?
Yeah, it's the front of lots 2, 3, and 6 is what we're proposing right now.
Which are the ones
Against the road, against 74.
The ones facing the street.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, well, there's an awful lot of surface water
Yes,
on the other side of the soil.
Springs. Well,
Right.
Okay.
And that's why there's shown on the city water map, there's a little stream showing running right along the northern boundary of this lot, which is part of the natural drainage of that water accumulation. I'm not sure putting it on the south side of the lot is going to help. Have you looked into this probably? I mean, it takes a bit of local inspection to really see what happens here.
So, Bob, if you can answer that question, and then what we're going to do is jump over to Rob after this to make sure that he can get his question answered in here too. So, Bob?
Which is, you'll have to.
So what we know of the property is the high water table, and what we know as a professional engineer is that we have to let the water go where it goes today at the same rate that it would go naturally. And that's a planner side level of it. We can get engineers involved, and we'll be happy to help you help understand it in more detail down the road if we can, with you. But
yeah, the water
but we
right
do-
now goes into
we
the
do
lot on the northern side, or into the sort of class 3 creek that exists along part of it, the northern side.
Right.
Okay, well, thank you.
No, thank you. I mean, and if we weren't aware of it, thank you, because we'll look into it, because we have to, and we will.
I have a question.
I'm going to jump to Rob first. I think he has a question
Okay.
first, and then we can jump to you after that.
Thank you.
Rondell.
Yes.
So Rob, I think you're on mute right now. If you can unmute yourself. I think you're still on mute.
Hit the space bar.
Okay.
There we go.
This is Ron Belter. I am the neighbor to the due east of this site. A couple questions I have is, I understand you're putting in a 30-foot road, you're making the street according to specs in front of that particular parcel. So are you calling from the very entire site all the way to 148th a public road, or is it only public in front of the lot to the south? Is it only public in that section and the rest of it remains private?
So yes, we have to dedicate public right of way in front of our property that we own. And then the act already in, there is a 30-foot access easement that goes out to the road, and that'll still stay the private easement that it is today.
So
And development comes in. Yeah.
okay, so you can get by calling this a private road here on Northeast 74th Street. You make it the width, and in front of your site is now public. In front of my parcel, which is due east, I'm still private, or will that now become public as well?
No, you'll be private, and until the point that you would want to subdivide, or at that point they would require you. We're not trying to get away from anything, just so you understand. We're told this is what was the access that was required.
Sure. Now, my understanding is you can put in 6 homes and put in a 30-foot road. I want to split my house, or Irving's across the street, or the vacant lot, or John, who has the daycare, and we have to put in a 50-foot road. Is that right?
No, not the way I understand it. I'm not the city, and I know Min spoke to this a little bit ago. If you do a development on your side of that, your property, you have to put half a street improvements. If you both go in together, then you'd have to put a 50-foot. Like if you and the property to the south, that would be a 50-foot right away in the end.
Excuse me, can I jump in here? I don't know how to raise my hand.
Yeah, Julia. Let's do this is let's answer Ron's question. I know Mr. Rondell has a
Yes.
question after that, and then I will have you on the list following. If that's okay with you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm just raising the question about the flexibility on some of these driveways. I know that the driveway coming off of 6 heading south, I'm wondering if that driveway could go east and thereby avoid some congestion right there at the entrance to Jersey's driveway and my driveway. That is a larger road or driveway that's going back to number 4 and 5. Can 6 go directly east into that driveway? Is that a possibility?
It's definitely a possibility. And well, when we come into the project first, we lay something out that we feel is appropriate for the homes and not having to share all one road. And I know this is one of the comments that's coming up, that we may put even 3 and 6 onto that, put 1 and 2 onto 1. So we might have to go to that route. So yeah, it's a possibility that we would reduce the number of driveways on Northeast 74th.
Cool.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
would like to comment on that too. So we will, as a city, we will require them to have the driveway to 3 and 6 go, which is driveway A, which is the driveway to lot 4 and 5. And then also the driveway to lot 2, we will want them to go with the driveway B on the east side, that road. So the purpose is to eliminate a lot of access point on the main 74th Street. So we collectively have those one driveway access point for lot 3, 4, and 5, and 6, and then one access point for lot 1 and lot 2. So we would try to eliminate a lot of access point on the higher, we call higher street classification, which 74th Street, which is a little bit higher street classification compared to that 2 driveways to lot 1, lot 2, and then lot 3 to 6.
So I have just next I have Julie going next for the question, then Stuart's following, and then I think Ron, you had another follow-up question too as well. So thank you, Mr. Rendell, for your question. Mr. Ellington?
Yes, I live on the corner of 148th and the 74th Street, and I own the school by Steve. And I have a question with the utilities. You're going to bring utilities up the new road, 74th Street?
Bob, do you want to answer that question?
Yes, that's it. That's the intention, is to bring it up the access.
So you're bringing up water and sewer utilities. If we want to hook up to them, are we responsible to hook up to them? Or are you going to hook up water meters in front of our house, or how is that going to work?
I don't know 100%, but what I do understand is that we would not connect you with this plat. If you wanted to, we could talk to the developer and see if we could work it out. But no, I don't. It's not from what I know now. I haven't seen any comments. We are not going to force or hook you up either.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to Heba to answer the code requirements for that
Perfect.
utility question, just in case anybody has that question. Heba?
Hi everyone. This is Hiba Awad, the utility reviewer of this project. And in my comments, I included that the developer is expected to, because of the installation of water and sewer, your side sewers are going to be impacted anyway. So in my comments, they are responsible to reconnect the side sewers of each home connected originally, because I see that there's a manhole and existing side sewers. So the developer is expected to reconnect those existing sewers, or somehow have a new section connected to the new main, basically. That's for sewer. For water also as well, there's the developer will somehow put a stub for you basically to and all the way to the property line, and from there you can really the city usually owns the meters, so basically your existing meters for now will be relocated to necessary locations basically.
So you'll
don't
put
need-
water meters in, right? And we just hook up to them.
You have water meters right now.
I
And
know they're down at my house
Yeah, they're on
What?
48.
for everyone, but the new water meters will be in front of the individual houses, right?
I need
Are
to
you-
check what kind of water meters you have over there, but you are not required to really upgrade those water meters.
Okay,
Basically.
how about my
So-
400 feet of
They can't hear
PVC
you.
line?
I'm sorry,
So,
Oh.
yeah.
could you please
Mr. Ellington. Yeah, Mr.
repeat?
Ellington. Actually, real fast, Mr. Ellington, was there any other follow-up questions on that before I jump down to Mr. Stuart Irving? Oh, I think you're
on mute.
I'll just wait.
okay. Stuart Irving, if you would like to go for your
Yes.
question.
Yeah, my name is Stu Irvine, and we were talking about bringing up sewer water. For what it's worth, we're on a septic system, and we have about 400 feet of PVC line running down to 148. Now, when you
Which
bring
house again? Which property do you own?
stand by.
Southeast corner,
Here,
across the street.
let me see. We're
South-
parcel
Yep,
number
there you go.
So
Right
southeast
there.
corner.
Yep, right there.
250599093. We're directly across the street from Ron's house, and the
Okay.
section of the property that's going to be kept as wetland protection.
Yes. With
Okay.
the culvert.
And you are saying that you are on septic right now currently?
That's correct.
Mhm. And our water meter is
Uh-huh.
at the entrance to the road by John's house. It's right on 148. So we have PVC
Along,
pipe
yeah,
that runs
yeah.
from there all the way up to our property that provides the water.
Yeah, I'm expecting all of this will be removed due to the new installation of water and sewer. So basically, your property will be connected to the new main directly across from your property. It's going to be way shorter. So there will be a small pipe connected to the water main right in front of your property. You don't have to use, and the meter can be relocated in front of your property, basically.
How do you get the water up the road, up the private road? Are you going to dig up the road, or are you going to use the 15-foot easements on either side? How do you get
The
this up here?
developer
Wait, Heba,
is, yeah.
real fast. So if we can answer this question, jump over to Ron next to make sure you can get this question asked. And I also see AM, I think Ching has the question after that. So, Heba?
There will be a new water main all the way from 148 all the way to the end of the property line, the western side. So this new water main can be serving all of those properties to the north and the south of the
And we-
roadway.
Is it located? Is it in the center of the private road? Is it on the
Yes.
side of the
Yes.
private road?
So
It's going to
Heba,
be to the
Heba-
north side. Yeah. Mhm.
To the north side.
Okay.
Eh,
So,
Now we have
Bob,
one
Okay,
more-
now we
more
have
question.
a pressing question.
yes,
Scott?
is it possible to jump to Ron? And I can put you back in the queue as part of that. Because I think just want to make sure we jump to the Ron's questions.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll put you in the queue as part of that.
If-
Ron?
Actually, I'll hold off and you can take me next if Stu's question is pertinent to the question at hand or the topic at hand. Go ahead, Stu.
Yes, my question to the development is about the illegal culvert, which was planted in the ground probably 60 years ago. But you're talking about a natural stream which did not go in the northerly direction from, say, grass lawn. It actually ran down to 148 to the east, down General Telephone's property line. When they raised elevations, things changed. Elevations around here have changed quite a bit. And this natural stream that you talk about now is a farmer's 12-inch culvert that's plugged up with weeds. And it's handling grass lawn, it's handling Cam West, it's handling adjacent neighbors. And now I'm hearing that we're going to open that up and make it a natural stream bed.
And that culvert is at the
It's
corner of our
15
property.
It's 15 feet into
Yeah.
our property.
So that is affecting our property, and we are interested
We're
in knowing
very interested
how
in how
that
that will be
culvert
developed.
is going to be changed and developed to handle this new development and open stream, it sounds like.
It sounds like there's grading to be done just north of us, where the culvert exits. And yeah, this is all pretty vague. This is the first we've heard about it. We'd love to hear some detail.
Absolutely. So the question at hand here is talking about the existing culvert and the plans to upsize the culvert. Bob, do you want to talk about that?
Actually, let's get Garrett involved. I'm not an expert at all on this culvert, and he's definitely been involved more than I have with understanding it.
Yeah, I can hop in here. So I think I'm correct, and you guys have the culvert currently on that property. I think there's a 15-foot easement or so.
Yes,
It's on that west portion of that property.
yes.
And so currently where that inlet is, I think on your property, I've been out there in the field and looked at it. And you have, it's a small kind of channel that goes up, leads up to it, that feeds into it. Is that correct?
Correct.
So our proposal would be to basically keep that same location entrance-wise. We would minimize any grading needed on your guys' property, but try to keep that same inlet location.
Are you going to keep that culvert the same size as what's there now? Because it's inadequate now.
Currently what is happening is actually, I think it was mentioned earlier, the type of the stream that actually restricts fish passage. So based on the city maps, and also I've talked with the Muckleshoot tribe and the Department of Wildlife, and they both say that the fish go up that stream. I don't know if that's true. I have not seen it personally, but that's what they classify it as.
I've never seen a tadpole in that
No.
stream.
There are no fish unless perhaps a seagull dropped a salmon egg into the stream.
It's a class stream, and that implies it's open for fish. I'm going by the city map. I'm not making it up.
One time.
Well, I
And
know
what
what the belief
I would
is.
add from observation over the last 40 years living here, the amount of water coming along that way has increased considerably, helped in the great measure recently by the city putting astroturf over a good part of Grasslawn Park, despite all the claims the drainage was taken care of. It was not. It's increased the amount of water, surface water, trying to go down that stream. It's caused erosion on the banks inside the Greenbrier part to the north. And I'm quite sure that people living along 43rd presently are even more well aware of what it's done in the immediate vicinity there. But it's a mess.
It is.
And
It's been ignored
fixing
for
that
45
regardless of
years.
complaints about stripping the other half of the parcel to provide trees around the stream relocation. But yeah, surface water and overflow are a chronic issue around here.
So just to clarify,
The properties on the north are down the hill a little bit from this, so we get a lot of it.
so Garrett, can you clarify? So just to clarify, Garrett, the culvert is getting replaced and upsized with fish passable culverts underneath the road, which should handle the improved flows and help mitigate the situation that's out there now. Is that a correct statement, Garrett?
Yes, that's correct. It'll be sized not only for conveyance, but also to allow fish stream to move within the culvert. So it's actually, it would be slightly oversized to allow for that. And that's something the Department of Fish and Wildlife specifically asked for.
If I could interject here, there is a culvert to the south of us that was installed for Cam West when their development went in. That culvert is about 2 feet in diameter and seems to handle the water easily.
Well, yeah, free flows it down the side of the property.
But 150 feet of root clogged 12-inch tile is not doing the job.
So that would be replaced, the 12-foot tile that's there now would be replaced with a larger culvert that is adequate to allow fish to use the stream. Is that correct?
Correct. It would be a box culvert, which is kind of like an open bottom almost.
Well, it's not clear. Is it proposed to put a larger culvert through south to north on the parcel, or is the stream going to be opened except under the road?
So under the road itself will be the only location that a box culvert would be. The box culvert will be slightly larger than what the stream width would be required. So you're going to have basically a natural stream. You could almost walk through this. And then once you get to the other side, you're going to have a naturalized stream with the riparian corridor.
So the dark dotted line shown on the map that's up at the moment, that is open waterway, not culvert?
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. So I want to jump over to Ron real fast, and I want to get down to AM Ching to make sure we get to her questions. And then I also saw that Jeannie Rondell also has a question after that. So Ron?
Okay, great, thanks. Lots of questions. One is being due to the east of the subject parcel development. Currently, right now, if I were to build or attempt to submit a permit for a 2-car garage, I possibly might be able to make it. But with an open creek, wouldn't that extend the buffer and limit my limitations on me doing any garage building, for example? Or having an open creek, doesn't that just eliminate my possible expansion? And do we have a distance where the proposed creek will go versus to the edge of the property line? Do we have a distance?
Bob or Garrett, I'll let the applicants kind of go first, and I can answer any code questions from there.
I can't answer a question if it would impact your lot or if it would not. I believe if the buffer off of the stream, it would go on your property. Garrett, I'm not sure. Do you know, is it 70 or 80 feet now? I don't know what the proposed is. And if I'm not mistaken, being in a pipe, I think it's still a creek. So that setback would be off of the pipe but that's.
Yeah, I can chime in, Bob.
Okay, thanks.
With Wetland Resources. So right now, there is the stream is technically there on site. It is underground now, but that stream does have a 150-foot buffer. So, whether or not this stream is daylighted, you're still going to be dealing with that 150-foot buffer that extends off of the stream, because it is classified as a type F stream, meaning that fish could potentially use the stream if the downstream blockages were opened up. That is sort of how they're defining a type of stream. It doesn't necessarily mean there's fish in it now, just that there could potentially be fish in the future with downstream restoration. So yeah, I mean, in either case, you're going to be dealing with the city, and you'll have to talk with them about that to see if whether that 150-foot buffer would extend onto your property and would limit your development.
And to answer from the city revenue standpoint for that question, is essentially one of the things that will be the city will work with the applicant is to show kind of what the current existing buffers are and what the proposed buffers are. And that's something that we'll work out to make sure that's delineated in the plan. The other thing that is wanted to bring up is there is wetlands on site that do have buffers as well. So you do have stream buffers and wetland buffers that are existing. So, but this is one of the things that the city is aware of, and the city will be addressing as part of the application to ensure that information is shared.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought I heard somebody mention the prospect of leaving it in a pipe of still
So
again.
So let's hold that question. I'm going to jump down to AM Ching. She's been waiting patiently. Go to Jeannie Rondell, and then we can jump back to you, Max, on that question. So,
Okay.
AM?
Thank you. This is actually Aaron and Maggie Ching. We are the owner of the property just north of Unit 5 with street number 7505. My question is, I look at the plan on like all the unit. For example, Unit 5, looks like it's only 5 feet or less setback from the property line. But my impression, I don't know much about coding, but my impression is on the side you can have probably 5 feet, but the front and the back it need to be more, like 10 or 20 feet setback. Is that correct?
Bob, do you want to take that question first, and I can follow up with any code?
Sure. So number 5, the way that we presented this is number 5's front would be to the south. So there is that larger setback for a garage. And the rear, it's not 5, I believe it's 10 or 15 in this zone. I'm sorry, I think it's 10 actually, is a rear setback. So that's where it's set right now. That's what you're seeing. The dark green area that's landscaped is, I believe, a 5 foot. So that's what you're seeing is about a 10-foot buffer to the house. Not saying it's where it will be in the end.
And from the city of Redmond standpoint, this is something that we review to ensure it meets compliance with the setback regulations for the zoning. So this is something that we'll be reviewing for that. In addition, I know the question came up earlier about the landscaping buffer. This is also a requirement from the city of Redmond that a landscaping buffer or transition between existing homes and the new development is proposed. And so that's what's shown. The applicant is showing in the screen with the trees and the kind of the dark green area, which is required to be a minimum of 5 feet.
It may seem obvious, but you've got a lot of space in front of the houses on 74th. And as we just pointed out, almost zero clearance to the existing properties on the north side. At least move everything forward about 10, 15 feet in the front south. Just a thought. Okay, the other question I had was...
So Max, before we jump into that, I just want to make sure AM has answered other questions and
This
jump to
Aaron,
Jeannie.
Yeah, I appreciate Max's comment. I actually totally concur on that comments, and I'll yield back my time.
Thank you. Well, I'll give it back. Now, the other question was I had asked before about was the creek running through this property that's presently in this clogged drain going to be restored as natural open creek as possible? I got an answer, yes. And then somebody said, well, maybe it's staying in a pipe. Which is the intention?
So this is Bob. There's no intention for it to stay in a pipe. There will be a culvert that goes underneath the road with an open...
road's another matter.
No, but so that's part of our property right now. So that's the part that will stay, if you will, in a pipe. But it's an open bottom and natural, and the rest of the site will be opened up to a natural stream.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's stay with that idea.
And then I wanted to, just while we're on, you speak to move the houses forward, and remember this is our first design, and we have to have access to utilities, which is in that green area. We have to put a vault on this site so we can look at, giving more space to the owners to the north and put the vault back there, but you still have to have access to that vault for maintenance. So that's why it looks like it looks.
Well, okay, I guess you could run down one of the access roads to the vault, but what's really forcing this more than anything else is the stream buffer area to the west of where the restored stream will be. It's absorbed half of the property, more than half, looking at the current map, and you're trying to fiddle large houses onto tiny lots and squeeze them right out to the minimal unacceptable, I would say, boundaries to the adjacent properties. Now, Jersey has a property to the west. It's not developed, let's say. It's being used as a storage yard at the moment, but there's no house on it. That's going to be a problem, I would say, with him, should he ever want to put a house on it. But the arrangement, you know, it looks like there's nice lawns on the ones fronting 74th, and if they're really lucky, a patio with a bit of green painted concrete for the others, to put it a little extreme. But yeah, get this away. You really need to leave a tree buffer zone along the north side. That would force the houses to come forward. As I just eyeballing it across the fence, the furthest away legacy tree in that area is about 15 feet. Could go between a couple of the houses, but the other ones are much closer to the boundary. Leave them the space.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
I appreciate your comment. I mean, you know, the developer's listening, and we'll see what we can do with the site plan. So,
and Max, to your comment to the city is also hears you about the tree retention requirements and the landmark tree preservation. So appreciate that. But I do want to jump to Jeannie Rondell. She's been waiting patiently.
Hi, hopefully you can hear me. Thanks for doing all this. It's a lot of work, I know. Change is never easy, so I'm trying to adapt here. I'm directly across in the house barn. That's on 7349. And I'll probably be here for the next 50 years if I'm lucky. I'm an educator. I just actually launched an outdoor enrichment site for hands-on learning as I run a franchise for kids. So this is a huge change for the lane for me. My biggest concern, if we can go to slide 5, is in the TRG, TRD, TRC, that's basically taken out the little green belt of pine trees that currently runs parallel to the street, which would just be heartbreaking to see go. I understand, you know, I think 6 houses is pushing it. I was under the understanding it was going to be 3, but I know people need houses and change needs to happen. So I just am asking, as I've launched a little kids outdoor preschool across the way, that we, you know, take into account kids on bicycles, you know, coming up the road. A private road was something that was really a beautiful, sweet thing that's, you know, seems to be going by the wayside these days. But I'd really just, you know, ask for that partnership, as I will be around for quite some time and probably servicing those new neighbors and their kids with some after school enrichment stuff. So I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Bob, do you want to respond back?
I mean, all I can say is thanks. I mean, it is a piece of property that has been beautiful, and I mean, we deal with it every day. We understand the heart feel for these, and we also understand that I believe this was your dad's property, and you know, he needed to, he let it go to Tien and his group. So we'll do what we can do to make the best development. And Tien, he is trying to do the best he can do with his property and what's left, you know, for development. And we're really enhancing. I know it's only half of the property, but we are trying to re-enhance that wetland greatly. So hope that helps. But we have your number, of course, in your email. So
I appreciate it. I do.
So I think right now, just doing a time check, it's about 7:52. The city will be here to answer kind of to the questions that are going. We appreciate your time putting the comments in. I think Max, you may have a question, and Stuart, I see your hand still up. I don't know if it's just a residual hand, but we can jump to you after Max if possible.
Yeah, I'm muted at the moment, so I'll concede the remaining time to anyone else.
Well,
No,
I'd like to make just one comment, and that I've really been impressed with Tien's sensitivity to preserving as much of the natural beauty of the property as is there. And this conversation has just further assured me that, you know, they're really conscientious about preserving as much of nature as they can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rondell. Tian, if you'd like to go.
Yeah, thank you everyone to take your time and speak up your concern, and I appreciate all the comment. And I just want to make one thing so everybody understand our development plan. I have zero intent to destroy our nature. I love the nature, so we want to put together, quality products in the neighborhood that my goal is it would be kind of win-win situation. And as you can see that our plan for the tree is actually we added more back than we take it away. And I understand that you have a concern about the landmark tree and all that stuff, and we would do everything that complies with code for the city of the Redmond. And as part of the street and the stream and all that stuff, I would do our best to. We want to turn that into some kind of is a better condition than it's wood. We're not coming in and trying to destroy, make things get worse. And so I just want to make sure that you all understand that is our intent, and is we want to bring in the better product to the neighborhood. And I that's all I want to speak about it. And of course that during this process, you have any more comment, we'll hear to address your concern.
Okay.
May I add something? May I add something?
Yeah.
Also,
Yep,
for the
Eva, then Max.
property, yeah, just a quick comment. For the properties who are on septic and they would like to connect to the sewer, please send an email to Scott so we can collect that information from you. So
Okay.
if you like to be to your property to be connected to sewer, and you don't need it right now, you are on septic, but you would like to connect to the main sewer, please let us know.
Okay.
Thanks for that.
Could I add one more point then? Please see if you can work with the city to reach some, maybe compromise is not quite the word, but some situation where the provision of this wide buffer zone to the west of the creek has totally screwed up the layout and tree preservation on the western part of this parcel. That is satisfying one requirement in order and to do it, totally messing up the rest. It's not a very good idea. Please work with the city on the easement for the stream and the spacing and tree retention on the western side.
Thank you, Max, for your comment. We'll make sure with that public comment that we'll make sure that the plans are updated and reflect the current regulations for stream buffers. Okay.
Question?
I also wanted, go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, this is Tien, to Tien, the developer. Congratulations on the beautiful site purchase. One of the questions that were brought up, Bob couldn't quite answer, Bob Nix, is what type of home do you foresee putting in there? I mean, are we talking 3,000 square foot, 3,500 square foot, 3 stories, 2 stories, ramblers? Just give us a contemporary, modern, traditional. What kind of home do you plan on putting in there?
I can answer that question. The intent is we want to see what the market out there on. So, but the intent right now, of course, we have to kind of pivot along the way, depending on what the market, lead us to. But the intent it would be 2-story home. It would be kind of not more than 100%, but it's not, traditional also. So we kind of find something in the middle ground. We haven't fine-tuned on the house design yet, but we'll of course, it's next to Microsoft, so we have to kind of understand the market there a little bit more. I hope that would answer your question.
Somewhat, thank you.
Yep.
I think you did not answer what the intended square footage is roughly.
Oh, yeah, it roughly will fluctuate in between, 2,800 to, 3,000 ish, somewhere, depending how we finalize our lot, the lot plan.
Yeah,
And,
okay, that's fine, but that's considerably larger than the neighborhood houses. Some of them are ramblers, but they're on extremely large lots. But houses, particularly in Greenbrier to the north, are typically smaller than that and on much larger lots. So this coverage and sort of bulk is sounding rather oppressive to the neighbor's view.
Yeah, let me put in this perspective, Marks, is the lot size is roughly about 6,500. Some lot is bigger, but if you're looking at the footprint of the house, roughly less than 1,500 square feet, around that, maybe a little bit, more, some of it significant less. But if you compare it, other development around the area, that's kind of the market demanding right now. But if you're looking at it, it's significant less compared to the lot size. I understand the old house in the neighborhood, it ran in about 2,500 to 2,800 square feet. So, but basically everything we have to comply here with code. So.
Okay, well,
I think
the amount of that western side that's impervious surface is really large. That's even more drastically different from the surrounding houses.
So Max, I'm going to pause here real fast. I think I apologize for the misspelling. Is it Jerry?
Yeah.
Has
Yes,
a question?
I would like to mention something. I'm certified arborist for 40 years, and something I would like to talk about Jenny question. Okay, the area where you guys putting volts, there are the ways of planting trees, right? There are some would say technical ways of really growing trees on those vaults and stuff like that, so which may enhance the development. And just to knowing that people just from selling point, if you have those trees over there, they usually about enhancement is about 150% of the value of the property. There are studies, significant studies done that the trees increase the value of the properties, as well as the max. If you put the trees over there, that they would create a wind buffer for the prevailing wind over there. So they're asking, answering the max question, that would shield from the prevailing wind towards the neighborhood on the north. So some thought to,
That is a primary concern of mine.
Yeah, but the trees planted over there on the vaults, there are the ways, and there's a bigger cost for it if it's done with proper species and a proper way.
So thank you for the question about the plantings on top of the storm vault. For this, I'm actually going to jump to Janelle Hitch, who's a stormwater reviewer for the project. Janelle, can you speak to plantings on vaults?
Not a lot. We don't typically see a lot of vegetation such as trees on top of there, but we do have flexibility in that, and certainly it depends on how deep the vault is and how much soil layer you have in order to. Kind of depends on what you can plant. You just have to be careful that the trees don't damage the vault and things like that. So yeah, I think the design that they have, this is kind of a preliminary design, and they'll try to optimize everything and keep the vault as small as possible, so depending on the size of the houses and the impervious area.
By the way, where would the vault drain to?
So the vault is proposed to drain to the stream after it, but there'll be water quality treatment as well.
Yeah.
And the flow to the stream, it will mimic pre-existing conditions. So conditions prior to any development on the site. So like a forested condition. So the flow to the stream should be it shouldn't overwhelm the stream in any way.
Well, that's nice for the southern part of the developed part of the property, but it doesn't do much for the northern part of that area. I mean,
So
there is a sort of natural flow to the creek as it is, but it goes through the adjacent properties because the creek is in the culvert and because of the grade. So right now we have a kind of bad situation. This has the prospect of making it worse.
So I'm going to let Bob and the applicant team kind of address how they're achieving compliance with the code right now for stormwater.
And yeah, of course, let's get Garrett involved because he is the engineer and understands what he is proposing the best.
I guess quick follow-up there, Max. I guess I'm unsure what you're talking about. You're saying there's this creek along the north property line of this parcel?
Max, you're muted.
I'm sorry.
Your
was that a question back to me?
Yeah, I just trying to answer your comment. You had a comment about the stream along the north part of this parcel that you're saying that's an issue.
No, that stream on the eastern side of the parcel is the one that's in the present clogged pipe, essentially. There's a lot of water flowing from the, shall we say, the northwest corner of this lot, which presently goes every which way, but a good deal of it comes down through the properties to the north. It's not apparent perhaps on the map, but they slope down quite considerably from this property. So they're open to all the drainage from it. One of them at least, which is the third one along on the property from the western side. What's Candy's number? 70, I think it's 7506. It is particularly damp. It's kind of getting everything. Just a second, I'm just looking at the parcel map at the moment. There we go. No, sorry, 7502, which is the next. That's 75. That's 7511 to the right. 7505. That one's 7502. It's particularly wet.
There's a ditch
Along the back. So that's a sort of indicator of the very poor water flow in that whole area. We're very touchy about anything that makes it worse. Anything that improves it would be good, and opening the creek may help that. But that area is actually marked on the city map as a subsidiary creek to the one we're talking about. So officially recognized as something of a wet spot originally.
So Garrett, before you answer that, I see Ron's hand and Tian's hand go up. Garrett, if you want to answer that, or Tian, you want to answer that?
Yeah, I just want to share the map right here. Is show exactly how the flow of the kind of city, and Scott, you and the city staff can clarify this. And Scott, can I share the screen here so everybody can see?
Is this the plans down here as part of? Yeah, if you want to share your screen.
It did not show the stream the rest of the way, and let me share this. And I don't know how accurate it is, but can I share now, Scott? Can you give me a permission to share the screen?
Yeah, we can do that here. I'm just trying to figure out the technology real fast.
Okay, so. Okay. And then core engineer can kind of explain it. Everybody can see the screen now, where the stream, how they float through in between, you know, 7534 and 7535. And Max, I believe your property is over here, 7511, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so the stream right here is how they flow into 7525 through 7531 and just kind of cut across in between the property line of the row house on 145th and 146.
Yeah, that's correct. The path of the stream may not correspond to whenever this map was done, because these houses have been here since 1975 mostly.
So let me answer kind of Max's question, and then we'll jump over to Ron, because I see your hand up. So what I want to just share is that a lot of the maps that you see on King County IMaps or the City of Redmond maps when it comes to what streams are shown and which are not shown, is based on the best available data that we have. It's not necessarily a full survey done for all the streams across the city. One of the things is when there is some demarcation of a stream on the property, the city requires that the applicants have their consultants go out and actually go through a critical area report to show what streams are there and what are not. I think from this neighborhood meeting, from the city standpoint, Max, I hear you loud and clear, is that there's that other stream that's demarcated on the north. And one of the things that the city will be looking into is having applicants address that in their critical area report to show what that type 3, if it is, or whatever that demarcation is on that stream in their official critical area report.
I'm referring to the city's, I'm not sure what the exact term for it is, but it's the one that's supposed to show all the waterways. And it's perhaps a bit vague in places as well, but it does show an extension or a class 3 stream running along the northern boundary, part of the northern boundary of this property.
Yep, so that demarcation and that is going to be, all those maps are based on the critical area mapping that we have in our regulations for streams. And so one of the things, again, it's kind of a 1,000-foot level. So once the application comes in, that's where a full critical area report is required to be submitted to the city for review. And our wetland biologists, are basically our biologists and environmental planners actually review this along with myself to make sure that the critical area report is meeting all the necessary requirements. So I do appreciate your comment, Max, tonight. This is something that I personally have found out, and it's something that we will make sure from a city standpoint is addressed in the application as it goes forward.
Well, okay, but so remember this part that's being put back to a stream and all the water along the property is all part of the headwaters of Peters Creek. And Peters Creek's a class 2 stream, as I understand it from the city descriptions, which means it's much more protected. Now you're trying to recognize that, I think, in this buffer zone with the trees, but as I said, it's forced, unfortunate compromises on the western side of the property. So that needs some thought.
So thank you, Max. I know, Ron, you've been patiently waiting. I appreciate you waiting. If you wanted to ask your question.
Sure, thank you very much. Speaking about buried utilities, we talked about water and we talked about sewer. Will electricity also be underground at that point? I know there are several telephone poles along from 148th down the whole road. And so I'm curious, will those end up being underground as well?
Bob, you want to take this one?
I can't answer that. We will underground for sure everything on our property, and I don't know what the city's requirement is on a private access easement. I believe one may need to be moved for sure because it's going to be through a sidewalk, but I don't know the answer until we get comments back from the city. And Scott,
I have
Yeah.
I have a question in regards to that. There is a transformer on actually that narrow strip of land which belongs to the development, and that's the pole with the power and transformer on it. So because it is that we're talking about the long, right, that long narrow
right.
part in the right on the corner over here where you're pointing, there is a transformer. I think it serves our properties and Steve's as well, right? Right? I think so.
Yes. Yeah, I think there's two transformers. There's one there, and then there's one on the eastern edge on the other side next to Ron's house.
Yeah. So those probably gonna go somewhere, on the ground, right? And there will
Probably.
be,
Yeah, probably.
there will be developers, responsibility for it, right?
I'm sorry, what was that?
There would be the developer's responsibility to put it on the ground, take it from the pole, and
If it's on his property, that is usually the way it goes. I don't know. I just don't know what the city is requiring right now.
I'm going to actually go to Min real fast. Min, are you aware of the underground requirements for utilities?
Yes. So that requirement also similar to the frontage improvement. So if the utility pole in the section 1, which is not fronting that proposed project, we will not be able to require them to underground all those overhead utility power line. But if that's within their frontage, that is a requirement.
so I mean, do you that narrow strip is considered a frontage? Because that narrow strip goes, like in front of our and Steve's property. So is it considered frontage? Because it's on the corner, the pole, the transformer is on that. Yes.
Yeah, that little strip, I think the only thing we can require them, the applicant to do is that they will require to dedicate that little strip as a right of way to the city, but we will not be able to require them to improve that portion of the road until such a time that 3 parcel to the north of that little strip come for the development, that 3 parcel, and then the parcel to the south will be required to do the full street improvement, each half street improvement to each side from the center line.
Okay. I just wanted to know how we're gonna be affected by changing the access for the electricity, that yeah.
Yeah, technically the frontage is just counted as that big rectangle frontage, not that little strip to the west.
Okay.
And Ron, I think you have a question.
Yeah, sorry to ask so many questions. This is, really big and affecting a lot of us in great ways. In a nutshell, can we encapsulate and explain what road improvements will go from 148th all the way to the site? Or will the road basically remain the same? I guess I kind of lost out on that one. I understand you're building and doing work to the south of your site right there, which you own.
Yeah.
But I still don't quite understand what's happening from your site east to 148th. And
I can explain that. Sure. Let's leave this picture up right here. Now go back to the other one. It's a little more easy to see, if you don't mind, Scott. So in the red area, the big square part of the red area, that will have public right of way added to it. The piece that goes between the red and 148th will have 20 foot of fire lane added. Won't be additional. It'll be so there's 20 foot of paving, so the fire truck can get it back and have access to fight the fire. And it will have a 5 foot sidewalk or safe walk. Might not be a sidewalk, but a safe walk So that's either a 5 foot at the same level, won't be raised, it won't be a sidewalk, but so you'll probably see 25 foot of paving from our property to 148th within the existing access easement. And so that's what you should see.
Sidewalk meaning it has a white stripe on the road?
Possibly, I don't know what they require.
So I admit this is much more to the present residents of 143rd, but what about gas lines?
It's my assumption that we'll probably bring gas back to this project. So there'll probably be a new gas line brought through.
There's a gas line in that road all the way back to our place right now.
Sure, and that makes sense. And I don't know, I assume that'd be a requirement of the new development for the efficiency of gas today. I don't know.
Scott, will you be making these slides available?
So yes, that's a great question. These slides and this presentation that we're currently in right now will be made available onto the project page on the website for public viewing and additional comments. And as covered in the presentation, the public comment period is open till January 6th. So if there's any follow-up questions after this, or if there's anybody else that was unable to attend this meeting, they can review this material and also reach out and contact both Bob and myself for any follow-up questions. I know Heba alluded to if there's any utility hookups or questions for if you're on septic right now, to also reach out to me to kind of coordinate as we go forth in this review. So that's a great point. So thank you.
Septic and water.
Absolutely. So I think we're about 8:19 right now. I just wanted to kind of see if there's any other larger questions that we can help answer this time from the neighborhood as we kind of wrap up here at the end of the meeting. Okay. Well, hearing none, I want to thank everyone for making their time tonight, for coming out and posing these great questions. From the City of Redmond standpoint, I truly appreciate all these comments. It really helps us to help address kind of code compliance, because from our standpoint, we know the rules and regulations, but we don't know the sites that well. And so having this information and insight helps us basically achieve the code compliance. And then I know for Bob, as Bob and Tian has talked about too, I know they're excited to hear these comments as well to make sure that they're addressed as we go forward. So Bob or Tian, do you want to say any last comments?
No, I just yeah, thank you everyone, and I hope that will address your concern, and we'll have a great project here and bring it to the neighborhood. And yeah, Bob, you want to have anything to add on?
No, just once again, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. It's good to always see Scott and Bob, so the city has a record, I have a record, and please know that we're listening to you and we're writing it down. We have our professionals listening to you so that we know what you're saying, so we can feel it in your heart. We understand the tree issues. We get that, and we understand the neighborhood. And this is a nice little neighborhood. I mean, Tian loves this neighborhood. He does. I mean, he says it over and over, says, I like this neighborhood. This is a place that I want. I mean, development, yes, is development, but he wants to make the best house for you guys, to be your neighbors. So thanks a lot.
We all like it as well. We just don't want it messed with too much.
We understand.
Understood.
Yes. So I think with that, we'll conclude tonight's meeting. Again, I'll reiterate, if there's any other follow-up questions or anything else that you have, feel free to reach out to Bob and myself. We would love to hear from you, and we will follow up with you too as well. So with that, everyone have a wonderful night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great night. Bye
Merry
bye.
Christmas, everybody.
Yeah.
Happy holidays. Yeah.
Happy holidays. Yep.
Happy holidays. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks
Thank you
everyone.
all.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Well, I don't understand why my picture didn't come up. So weird.
think, Candy, are you still there? Candy, can you hear me?